Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another video. Today is going to be a bit of a different video than you guys are used to seeing on this channel. Normally we have a little bit more clip compilations or meme type things, but I thought with the recent release of the PTB patch notes coming for the PTB next week, I think I should probably discuss some issues, some good and some bad, coming with this patch, more specifically focusing on the unknown. Since the initial release of the Unknown, I have been playing them for months and months non-stop to the point that I've gotten right up to #1 in North American region. And while I am proud of accomplishing this, I feel as though part of it is due to the lack of players playing the Unknown to begin with, which is also where a lot of my concerns sort of stem from originally. Over the last few months, I've been in the production of an in-depth Unknown guide. A guide to teach players everything they need to know to play as and against the killer. My goal with this guide is to bring more positive attention to the Unknown, whether it's getting people to play them more, or simply just having more people be interested in playing against them. The reason that I mention this guide is because one of these particular changes that Behavior is trying to implement is going to be doing the opposite effect of what I have in mind with this guide, and that change reads as follows. Tapping the power button can postpone a hallucination from spawning, but to a survivor, it appears as if you're about to launch UVX. This forces survivors to constantly dodge and lose distance without slowing down the killer. We have reduced the window before the killer slows down while charging the power. This will make it harder to tap the power button without slowing down while focusing on a chase. So for anyone that is unfamiliar with what this means exactly, I'm going to put a couple examples up on screen as well as just kind of describe what's happening. So for the first point of clarification, if anyone has no idea what the whole tapping the power button means, simply right-clicking or using your power button on your controller while quickly tapping the power will stall a hallucination from spawning from your body. So this means on your screen, if you are the killer, you will see your tentacle going in and out of your body very quickly. Now the exact numbers that are on the wiki as describes, if you are to tap the power and you're not holding it for less than anything more than 0.8 seconds, you will not have a penalty applied to your movement speed. Whereas anything more than 0.8 seconds will fully extend your shot and prime an actual UVX shot. And as soon as your shot is primed, your movement speed will go from 4.6 ms to 4.0 ms. However, in the current state, if it is again for that less than 0.8 seconds, you will not have that movement speed penalty, you will stay at 4.6 ms. Now to continue with more clarification, you might be asking, okay, well why is this even important? The purpose of stalling your hallucinations is incredibly important to playing the character a lot more effectively than most would believe. For those who don't understand how the hallucinations work exactly, they're on a 45-second spawn timer. This is indicated on the sides of your screen with a starting pink aura that turns into eventually a yellow aura that plays a sound effect of when it's ready to spawn. Once the spawn is ready, you have only two options to stall during this 3-second window. One that's consistent and one that's not quite as consistent. The consistent method being spamming your right click for less than 0.8 seconds. The other option being walking within certain spawn restriction ranges that the Unknown has built into its kit. This includes being within a range of another hallucination that's already on the map, as well as a small range between hooks, pallets, generators, and exit gates. With all of this in mind, you can see why spamming the right click can be important. But what Behavior doesn't seem to really understand when players are doing this is solely for hallucination spawn points. That's it. Neither myself nor any other Unknown that I've ever played against in a Survivor game has ever spammed the right click with the intention to fake a shot. Because while they're claiming that many survivors are just bobbing and weaving and yes, curving everywhere and trying to spin to dodge someone that's literally creaking their neck, makes absolutely no sense to me. Even if an Unknown spams the power in the middle of the chase, the animation is very different between spamming and actually priming a shot. When the Unknown is ready to fire an actual UVX shot, they will have their back arched forward and their neck tilted back, as well as a sound cue that will play when the shot is ready to fire. Unlike spamming the power that creates more just a neck creaking animation with only half the sound. The primary distinction between the two is when a shot is primed, you will hear a bit of a either bubbling or gurgle type sound effect, whereas for the spam, you'll hear more of just a simple neck creak sound. But now that you understand the basics, let's just get to the whole root of where's the problem with this change they're wanting to implement. If this change goes through, this is going to make the killer a lot more clunkier to play. Most of the point of using this right-click spam in the first place is not even in chase, but rather outside of chase when trying to plan for future chases. This means while trying to traverse the map while also simply placing things where you need to place them, instead of walking smoothly, you're going to be walking normal, stopping. Walking normal, stopping. Walking normal again, still stopping. Every couple seconds until you're able to get to the location you want to place your hallucination at. It's no longer going to be a smooth from 5.6 to 5.0 movement speed. It is just going to be 5.60, 5.60, which is just going to make your walking stuttering like crazy. And on the other hand, in the middle of chases, if you were to decide between needing to right click or left click, if you were to hit that right click and you didn't actually want to do that, you're going to immediately get that same stutter in the middle of the chase, and that's going to screw things up even more for you. Players are going to get frustrated, especially newer players trying to learn how to play the character. Which, with going back to my original point of how small the actual unknown community really seems to be in the first place, it's very disheartening to see that if this was to go to live and this was to become a much more clunkier issue, even less people are going to be willing to ever actually try them out again. Let alone those who actually do are even going to be that interested in even using their power in the first place. When at that point, why would you even want to use UVX when you could just rely on teleporting and smacking people? Before even making this video, when the patch notes dropped, I asked a lot of my community friends that are outside of things that play a lot of DBD, and I simply asked, hey, when you play against an unknown, or when you guys play unknown, do you ever right-click to fake a shot? Or if you ever see an unknown spamming their power in the middle of the chase, do you ever bob and weave? Do you know when the shot is being primed? Not a single person indicated to me that they were ever confused at when the power was ready or when it wasn't. And while I know that my games, as well as other friends' games, may not be the best of indication of does this really happen rampantly or not, one could argue that lower MMR or brand new players' games, it does happen. While that is a good point to make, I would also add in that most likely at those kinds of levels of games, players are probably also not even removing the weaken by staring at the killer, or dispelling hallucinations, or anything of that sort, or at least not until they played the killer a few times, in both sides. I would have faith that after a couple matches, for when they actually do get to play the unknown, as rare as it is, they would probably be able to see the difference in animations pretty quickly, therefore correcting the mistake of dodging when it's unnecessary. Now for the last little section of the video, I did want to talk very briefly about the last 3 changes that they are adding to the killer. All 3 of these changes, I have to say, are actually pretty good. They are actually pretty healthy. There's no real problems that I see with any of them. The addition of extra movement speed recovery from after a teleport, aka blurry photo stats, really helps declunk one of the only real clunky things that are currently in the game for the character. And just like their main point of saying, hey, we want people to kind of mix up their add-ons and stop relying on blurry photo, it's a good healthy change, I think. And to the other elephant in the room, Vanishing Box. There's been no doubt amongst the community of whether you're an unknown player or a survivor that has to play against the unknown, all have unanimously agreed, Vanishing Box is crazy strong. It's crazy strong just off the sole point that it gives you so much pressure and information just for losing out on a generator. Now, while I am glad that they are still keeping this sort of base effect, the fact that they're actually adding a downside to it, I'm actually very okay with. I think adding a nerf to longer hallucination spawn time is a really healthy choice, because it encourages players to go for more UVX shot. For those who don't know, when applying the weakened status to a survivor, this decreases the spawn time of your next hallucination by 10 seconds. While additionally, with every survivor that you have weakened in the trial, it'll also reduce your spawn time for the hallucinations as well. With an example in the current state of the 45-second timer, if you have 4 players all weakened at the same time, it drops that 45-second timer down to 13 seconds. Couple that with the 10 seconds off for freshly applying someone in case someone was to lose that status. That's almost an instant free hallucination just for hitting one shot. So if unknowns want to continue to rely on using this add-on for every match, then they're going to have a little bit of a hard time if they're unable to hit their shots. And those who can hit their shots consistently, you probably won't really notice a change. Because for an add-on to be able to do so much with simply they fix a generator, they gain the weakened status. Not only does it give you weakened status with free pressure that way, it reduces your hallucination spawn time passively, and it also reveals to you the location of who and where was doing what generator, and applies weaken to all players that were present on the gen at the time of completion. Lastly, the UI additions. This is definitely going to help both new and experienced players understand the character's timers a little bit more accurately, as many people that I have talked to in the past were unaware that there was a 25-second teleport time or a 45-second hallucination spawn timer. All of these being shown on a little HUD for you is going to help manage things so much easier. Hell, even for myself, who has hundreds of hours on the character, I don't have to sit there and try to think to myself, okay, when are my hallucinations ready to be teleported to again? So unlike our previous and main problematic change that we talked about previously in the video, this one definitely does a lot for bringing people more accessibility for playing the character. And I hope that behavior, or at least maybe not behavior, but players that may have not understood about how this change was and what detriment it kind of can bring if it was to go to live, just a simple understanding of why this is a problem, because I just can't agree with the reasoning why they're saying that they need to do this. It just doesn't make any sense. But nonetheless, time is going to tell what they're going to do, and this PTB upcoming on Tuesday, I'll 100% be playing it and testing it for myself to really see if these changes are, I guess I'd say, as detrimental feeling as they really appear to be. Either way, I thought it would be good to kind of just put my thoughts out there and see what others have to think about it as well. I think overall though, majority of what's coming is going to be very healthy for the character. And there's just really one small misstep here that I'm hoping will be corrected, or at the very, very least, not as bad as what they're wording it as. But that's all that I got for today though, everybody. So if you made it this far, thank you so very much for joining me, listening to a little bit of a rant. Hopefully you learned something today, and if you are new to the channel, dropping a subscription really helps me a lot. I again will be still having our next video coming out after October once these changes are officially live, because I want to have the guide video be as accurate and up-to-date as humanly possible. As well as if you're looking for someone that's completely dedicated a lot of time to the unknown, check out the Twitch channel over at Honest Panda. I'm live Monday to Friday, sometimes even twice a day, just mostly playing Unknown, but I do play all the other killers too. But a majority of what you will see is definitely some Unknown gameplay, but we like to just kind of chill, relax the stream, and just hit some of the craziest shots you'll see. Thank you for watching, everyone, and I hope you have a good rest of your morning, afternoon, night, whatever time it might be for you, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care, everyone.